myself to sleep and hope my joint pain passed. So that's exactly what I aimed to accomplish that afternoon. I was taking a cat nap in my hammock when I felt a cold, clammy hand wrapped around my forearm. The sensation shocked me something fierce, but a sudden feeling of dread kept me from opening my eyes right away. But you see, I was sure as birth and death it was the fish girl that had snagged me. With Anthony out acquiring rations and groggy mind, reasoned she had come to me looking for a meal. After all, it had been I alone who assisted the first mate during his grisly suppers. Those icy fingers were gripping me tight, and the damp hand had me certain I was about to wake and find her standing over me, grinning down with that mouthful of daggers, and staring through me with those blood-red eyes. When I finally mustered the courage to look, I saw that it was Job who had stirred me back to the waking world. I stood up in my hammock and readied myself to crack him with the back of my hand for rousing me from my nap. There weren't a lot of men on the boat that I would strike, but Job was the lowest in the pecking order, and a known thief at that, so I had no qualms with belting the old bastard, especially after catching him sneaking around the berth when he should have been topside scrubbing the ship's head. To top it off, the pain in his joints was throbbing worse than ever, and I had attributed that to my sudden awakening. So the look of distress on his face had been paused long enough
Time to change tactics.
strike him with his
Lengthening your strength. We've entered the storm.
even the sound of his whispering grinded awful light inside my head. I came to talk to you about that monster we pulled from the tree a few days back. That thing that our first mate wrapped round his skinny finger. And our captain fantasizing about treasure that may or may not be real. There be not something altogether right about that journey we embarked on.
Lengthening your strength.
Hell is back.
Lance at the ready.
Last night I hid behind the Scotch door and listened to the things that they say in the preacher. Well, you weren't talking to no king in the kingdom, I tell you that. I can't say for sure, because I couldn't understand the monster's tongue. His words and speech. It was the bell on him. One that somehow gives her the key to his mind. Perhaps her power lies in the fact that the little bits of the night. I watched you help him here. That's the only reason I can fathom why you call him such a beast.
Lance ablaze.
Witchcraft. Now, I be thinking he or she may be leading to our death. We must beware, you and I. We're to blindly trust the soul of creatures. He's as mad as taking the devil for his word. I yanked my arm free from his grasp and told him that he was lucky I wasn't the type to rat him out to Anthony about his eavesdropping. He turned to plead with a bleary mind and then laid on the hell with ya! You're just like the rest of them then. Just like the captain. So blindly do you agree you can't see the danger right before your eyes. Well, you don't believe me, then I'll prove it to you. Job then stormed from the fury of the tempest. Well, I strained to forget the old man's warning long enough to fall back asleep. We were putting a lot of trust in him. So it was. The first mate had never given any of us a reason to doubt him. But I wondered then, as I lay.
I want to protect everyone too.
I know what the hell happened.
We raised anchor and set off to the dock the next morning. Once the shore appeared behind the horizon, the cat hauled every able-bodied soldier up the deck for me. When I had arrived, I was surprised to see the fish girl standing. It was the first time she had been topside since we caught her. She was dressed in
Lance ablaze.
more animal than woman, she might have said. Captain, they're covered. There's a Christian thing to do, so he made sure to have her guard from the crew. The first mate's sleeping shirt he was wearing, and his hung from a thin frame, swallowing up the figure like a young boy with his father. Friends and brothers, the captain said, our stern is to the coast, so there'll be no turning back now. The next time we drop anchor, we'll be doing it by the bay of this fair she-queen kingdom.
We entered the storm.
But she's breathing no mind. She's still acting skittish still. Just the same as she's been since I first laid eyes on her. Our first mate, Anthony, captain, had been communicating with the female. It is he, and only he, who she trusts with the coordinates of her kingdom. So follow his orders, sailors, and we'll all be wealthy men by the week's end. Anthony took a step forward to address the crew. He may not have been the captain.
The Stellaron changes everything. This battle is unavoidable.
Ahoy, fellow sailors! When we set off this vessel 4 days ago, we did so as fishermen and whalers. But when this voyage is over, we'll be running home as men with redemption. Hear, hear! In a few days, we'll be reaching our destination. The entrance to this girl's kingdom lies in a place her people call the Golden Grotto. I saw an eager smile stretch across the canvas. It's a place plucked straight out from the fables we read as children. A cavern where the water's liquid gold, and the walls are encrusted with diamonds. When we find the Golden Grotto, we'll be so close to the treasure, we'll be able to reach out and touch it. I've been taking the liberty of drawing us a map based on these conversations. Now, if you need me, don't hesitate to fall down to my quarters. I'll be in there with the last discussing the customs, diplomacy of her people. I'll be in there with the last discussing the customs and diplomacy of her people. Such things will come in handy upon our first encounter with the royal party.
Translates into hope.
Most of us went back to practice, jolly, laughing about our good fortune after that.
I spotted him.
I'm not afraid of you.
He just kept right on staring.
Assistance is timely. Power translates into hope. I want to protect everyone too.
Recognize the signs.
Then take a storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
Followed her all the way to
Always a weakness. Lend me your strength.
like a child feeling his mother on an absolute stroll to the market. Joe saw it and died.
Lance ablaze.
Not again!
Forward.
God.
Go to the past. Lance at the ready.
Such fever that set my skin ablaze, set throbs of pain coursing through my muscles and left me trying to
Into hope.
And so I stepped, soaked, wet, as the crew carried on their duty top of the mountain. It was during my melee that I began to experience horrific nightmares. Visions that buried themselves inside my head.
The only redemption. I'm on guard.
I jumped to the
Lending your strength.
moving up the seabed and unfolding so real visions.
To guard and defend. Crush
I
them.
couldn't tell the difference between reality on board the ship.
I want to protect everyone too.
There were castles built of black, jagged cliffs. So razors across the arms and spines jutting from their immense vastness to rip a man's skin upon contact. Spires standing hundreds of feet high, erected from the bones of sea creatures more massive than any whale, were scattered about the place. Each underwater structure was enormous and intricately decorated, adorned with thousands of draped colossal curtains. I had no body during bizarre fever dreams. Instead, I moved about the sunken city like an ethereal specter. In the center of the distance was a church with pointed
Where
steeples.
is the next boss?
Its walls were sculpted from one large piece of smooth, black rock extending upwards from the earth. Its roof a dark sea-green mass of repulsive projections, wriggled as if it consisted of millions of monstrous worms. At first, I thought it was made of seaweed,
Like
and the moving parts were simply a product of the ocean. But as I ventured closer to the wicked house of worship,
Time to show you.
May I fear the truth is far more unsettling. To my dismay, I discovered the steam break over the top of the church was alive and conscious. It was like no creature I'd seen before, at sea or on land. It had no head or tail, and I could not for the life of me tell you where the beast ended or began, but it writhed about and moaned loud and deep, as though it was suffering and horrible. The moving bits were tentacles of some kind, the tips of which were flat and white, each as long as a full-grown man, an enormous green slug
Time to
covered
change
with
tactics.
feelers.
Lengthen your
How
strength.
I describe the foolish.
I'm on guard.
Couldn't help but feel sorry.
I want to protect everyone too.
To my eyes, it seemed as though the slug were a prisoner of that church. The unhallowed cathedral steps rose up from its flesh, spewing and alive so that it could not swim away.
Lengthen your strength.
Closer to the terrible place I journeyed, unable to stop myself, I realized that I was not in control of my actions. Chanting arose from the black church, drowning out even the cries of its monstrous captive. The voices sounded as singing dolphins, but unlike the girl there was
Lance the blaze.
through the doors I traveled ever nearer to the chance, and there I witnessed horrors that could warp a sane man's mind. The underside of the slug thing above the church was now visible. The creature had no eyes or ears, or at least none that I could recognize, but its enormous oval maw, large enough to swallow a merchant ship whole, spanned half its body. Every one of its teeth was as big as a baby humpback and as sharp as the devil's tongue. Columns arranged in a circle ascended up, piercing the creature's pink, spongy belly so as to pin it in place. The interior walls were carved in runes, the likes of which I'm certain no man has seen since before the time of Christ. There were no keys inside the structure. Aside from the openings and the column, the chamber was completely bare. But I was not alone inside the church. There were
This battle is unlengthening your
they
strength.
floated between pillars that centered the room, and I knew again.
To guard and defend.
They were the origins of strange chants I had followed. The shrouded beings were busy performing praise, not acknowledge my presence. So I watched in silence as they worshipped and sang their ominous incantations.
Lengthen your
Responding
strength.
immense slug above
Lance the
cried
blade.
and moaned throughout the strange ceremony, but never did the dark monks react to its bellowing. When the chanting came to an end, all but one of the worshippers removed their robes and dropped them to the floor. They were males. The same race as the fish girl, bore the same sharp teeth and webbed fingers as she. Colorful scales even speckled their bodies in a similar fashion. They formed a circle around the one figure still cloaked and lowered their heads in what I assumed to be a prayer. The monk was bigger than the lot, at least twice as big. I wouldn't have noticed till the others removed their garments, but now the size difference was palpable. It was their leader, the archbishop of their ungodly congregation. It turned to face me, and I realized that I wasn't as invisible to these things as I had thought. From the sleeves of the high priest's robes emerged a gigantic red hand, though they were unlike those of her people surrounding it.
Prevented the storm. To guard and defend. Scorch them.
Talons in place of nails. On its wrist it wore a golden ring. Mesmerized by a thousand fevers, frightened at the same time. Any piece of jewelry I'd ever seen in my life. I feel all my soul
This battle is
on the face of a
unavoidable.
horrible thing.
Lengthen your strength.
And then raised its claw and removed its cowl, revealing its all. No mistaking the
Persistence is
one
timely.
might. The girl or the other worshippers of that sinful underwater temple made this creature was no more man than the beast. Its head was a swollen, misshapen mass.
I want to protect everyone.
And I'm not ashamed to say that I still shudder when I think of it. The dark green ring ran down the middle of its skull, disappearing into its robe. I found myself somehow grateful that it was still wrapped in its ceremonial garment.
You'll
Its
pay
naked
for
bloated
this.
body may have been enough to break my sight. Nevertheless,
Lance ablaze!
like an appearance that even the most courageous men would scream aloud if they would lay their eyes on it. A series of gills flapped on the side of the creature's neck, and tusks extended from between its flabby gray lips. Its glassy eyes yellow and blinking sections far apart from its face, protruding
This battle
outward
is
like a pair
unavoidable.
of
Lending
rotten
your
cabbages as they studied me.
We've entered the storm.
Without doubt,
To guard and defend.
unhollowed
Crush them.
conflagration was the most appalling
afraid of
vision
you.
I've ever seen. I attempted to scream, but alas, I could not. Not pleasure.
I want to protect everyone too.
The worst person started up their dolphin camps again, but this only double response to more.
Lend me your strength.
The foundation of a building.
I need to be brave.
Little upon the disintegrate this awful stare from me. My mind was swirling before its sight.
I'm on guard.
The furry inside me.
You'll pay for this.
Just as I started to believe
Not
that they
afraid
would
of
drive
you.
me mad, the ocean began to darken. In the glare of the
Time for your protection.
my sight had
Resistance
returned
is
to
tiny.
end line. I had my body back, and no longer did my skin burn to the touch. For the first time since lips and the fog that had settled inside my mind started to disperse. My fever had recessed, and with it the visions of that wicked temple and the city beneath the sea. Though the images I bore witness to managed to stay with me, as I could still recall this terrible dream whenever I closed my eyes. I would come to learn that I'd been laid up for 3 days. And in that time, things had changed aboard the ship. The merriment that had been buzzing through the crew just days prior had vanished, only to be replaced by nervous whispers and a sense of trepidation.
Oh god, no.
Out at open sea, surrounded by nothing but the deep blue depths, sailors tend to gossip just as females do, and once my strength had returned to me, a few of the fishermen made it their duty to catch me up on what I'd missed
That's fine, I'll go.
while I was wrought with fever. The recent trouble seemed to be stemming from an altercation that occurred the night the illness took me. As I slept so sick that I was well nigh dead to the world, an incident occurred that had rattled many of the men on the boat. And not surprisingly, it was regarding Job and the girl. The story, as it had been told to me, was that Anthony had been topside that evening, navigating the ship through a patch of stormy weather, so as to ensure the winds did not blow us off course. When the seas had calmed, he returned to his cabin to find the old man, dagger in hand, harassing the fish girl and declaring that he aimed to kill her. The old man was bleeding awful from the side of his neck. The merwoman had taken a bite out of him after he made an earlier pass at her with his blade. Gushing his wound was too. A crimson pool had collected at his feet, but despite the blood loss, Job had a fire burning so bright inside him that night that he was moved beyond all reason. Anthony ordered him to halt, but the old man refused to yield to his commands. He wanted only to bury his dagger into the merwoman's heart, and there was no threat the Scot could make that would deter him from his mission. All else had become trivial to the old man. Job backed the girl into a corner and raised the knife over his head and readied himself to come down on her with the point of his blade, but the Scot was quicker, stronger. Before the gray-haired beggar could drive his dagger into her chest, Anthony dashed across the room and sunk a knife of his own between the blades of his shoulders. The men who had witnessed this said Job then folded like a book, crumpling to the floor an instant later. As it turned out, the first mate's knife had delivered a fatal blow, but the old man did not pass quietly into the afterlife. He groaned and howled for minutes. Some of the crew tried to tend to him, but the beggar's injuries were too severe. Anthony's knife was buried down to the hilt. In time, Job's breathing shallowed, his eyes began to dim, but just before his soul could leave his body and travel to the heavens, or down to hell, where I believe it may have been dust.
I want to protect
He
everyone
raised a
too.
finger toward the first mate, uttered his final word.
Clara,
She's master now. The cat did not reprimand Anthony for killing Joe. After all, he was only a beggar. And as I said before, the old man did not have any friends. Nevertheless, he was given a proper body was buried in sea.
I want to protect everyone too.
The Scot, however, was absent from the ceremony. And it was then that the rumors began. Those who witnessed what happened did not believe that lethal force had been necessary. Anthony was one of the strongest sailors on the ship and easily subdued the frail old man without the use of his knife. The girl he was harboring was an unnatural, frightful thing. Strangely beautiful though she was. And with the death of Joe, much of the crew was beginning to feel nervous about her presence on our vessel. Mayhaps the old man's final words were getting to him. This is something I cannot do.
There's always a weakness. Lend me your strength. I need to be brave. I want to protect everyone too. We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
If privy to that information.
Nice teamwork.
No need to fan the flames, I thought.
Lance at the ready.
When we were so close to our destination. Anthony might have been able to quell the stress himself through the fear of the death, following Joe's death. For much of the time, he's been cooped up in his
Lengthen your
battling
strength.
the tension of Joe. Annihilate. Word amongst the men was that the captain had checked on him, and upon seeing his condition, feared for his first mate's health.
What the heck?
He ordered Anthony to relinquish the girl so another sailor could mind her while he recovered, but the Scot had somehow talked him out of it. Ill he may have been, but Anthony was still a persuasive and powerful leader. He managed to convince the captain to send him a hand.
High threat target ahead.
Show your courage.
Theories from the office system. The man's name was Jake. He was a young fisherman from a poor village. He had
We've
learned
entered the
everything he
storm.
knew about sailing while
To
working.
guard and defend. Crush them.
Had been questioned
I want to
by the
protect
others
everyone too.
refused to talk. However, once the current of my feet had passed, he sought out the
Time to change. Lend me your
I
strength.
woke from my watery nightmare. I requested that he speak in private. He found an isolated spot at the hull of the boat. He was only there because he knew others would not hear our discussion. He felt secure enough to open up to me. The young fisherman spoke in his tone, and I knew from the cadence of his voice, the way his hands gripped me tight around my shoulders. He was very troubled. Anthony has mandated that I do not speak as I close outside of his cabin.
I want to protect
Jacob
everyone
was good to
too.
know. His silky blonde hair had fallen over his
This
face
battle
for a
is
moment.
unavoidable.
He looked almost mad. He knows his practices are unconventional and fierce. It would upset the crew if they were told how he goes about the girl's feedings. I nodded in agreement. In the many years I've walked this earth, I've commonly recognized that even a fool alone in distress is far more rational than less straight thinking over their heads.
I'm on guard.
This has been present too.
Lend me your strength.
You were helping feed the girl before the illness fell upon you, before I was chosen to take your
I want
place.
to protect everyone too.
I remained silent as it was not yet my turn to speak. Something was weighing heavily on the young man's heart. A secret. The only thing that kept me sane during the time I spent with Scott was knowing he would not run screaming from his cabin after witnessing those horrors. Just paused for a moment. And bit his bottom lip. His face was bright with terror. I bade him to carry on. So he took a deep breath and glanced over his shoulder. When he saw no one was near shot, he resumed.
You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
He did. The way he pledged himself to her.
I need to be brave.
His voice trailed off again, and his dark brown eyes fell to sleep. It was difficult for him to relive those moments. I placed my hand atop his shoulder to soothe the young man's worries. Aye, friend, I replied with a smile. It is a dreadful habit he's developed. I assume that Jacob was speaking of the very same practice I had witnessed Anthony partake in with the merwoman. His disgust was something I found reasonable. Watching the Scot carve the flesh from his arm was a sickening sight to behold. But Jacob was acting as if he'd crossed the path of the devil himself. When he spoke, his voice quaked with fright. His lips quivered like puckered strings of a lute. I thought mayhaps his fear were understated. And when the young man opened his mouth again, I began to reconsider the notion. Dreadful! If only one could describe such things with a word as modest as dreadful. Nay, there's no way to express the horrors I witnessed inside the man's cabin. Tell me how you managed to keep your sanity. I saw you those first few days. When you weren't assisting and you walked about the ship as if nothing were the matter. How did you keep your conscience clear, knowing full well what he was allowing the creature to do to him? But before I could answer him, Jacob stepped in again. He said it was for the good of the ship, but I won't be a part of it anymore. Now that you're well, I'll be informing Anthony that I no longer wish to aid him while he feeds himself to that terrible thing. If it doesn't frighten you, then I beg you to take my place. God, how he allowed her to eat him alive. The way she sank her teeth into his chest and stomach. That awful hymn he would recite that burned my ears. He sang them aloud with a smile on his face as she devoured him, as she sucked the blood from his veins. I tried my best to calm him, but Jacob had worked himself into a frenzy. His face bore the desperate look of an injured animal, and all of my words seemed to fall on deaf ears. It seemed as if he was losing his mind before my very eyes. Of a sudden, the young fisherman spun around and ran off. He stormed below the deck, and I knew he was heading to the first mate's quarters. I didn't try to follow him, though. That's two things he'd been yammering on about. From what I could tell, Jacob's plan was far different from there. Never did he let the girl bite directly in his flesh, while I assisted him. And the part about her drinking his blood sent a chill to my body.
There's always a weakness. Lending your strength.
The young man's throat and found myself moving back to the dark monks dream.
Went to the right.
First mate's songs were one to sing. Moments later, I would hear a scream rise up from the berth. And I knew at once. Debbie sings. By the time I arrived below deck, a dozen men had gathered around the first mate's quarters. Jacob was shouting and holding his arm, and I could see the sleeve of his shirt was stained a deep red.
This battle is
You
unavoidable.
blasted beast! You godforsaken animal! Anthony was in the doorway. He'd put himself between the crew and the girl. Blood was smeared across her face, and it looked as though she was still chewing a piece of the young man in her mouth. I peered back at Jacob and realized then just how much muscle she had torn from his arm. Jacob's wound was sealing like the water. I could see the bone of his forearm flap of his flesh, attached by only a single piece of skin that were bleaching in the mangled hair. Ah! It burns like fire! Like a flame to my flesh! Men were trying to console him, but the young sailor had fallen into a panic. The captain had entered the berth by now, having been lured by all the commotion. He instructed some of the crew to take Jacob topside and help him dress his injury. It took 4 men to pull him away, kicking and screaming from the first mate's door. I stayed
Show
behind.
your courage.
Jacob was bucking like a wild horse, and though my health had improved, I was still weak from my fever's lingering effects. Once he was gone, Anthony stepped outside his cabin and closed the door behind him to address the captain. He burst in like a madman,
Will
Captain,
preservation.
Anthony explained. No fair warning at all, not even a single knock. It startled the girl. This was the first time in days that I got a look at the Scot, and I understood then why the Cap had been so worried about his well-being. Anthony looked to still be suffering from what had been ailing him. His face as pallid as a phantom floating through the fog, and it seemed as if he'd lost considerable weight. His movements were sluggish. Even each of his steps demanded the will of the woman. Even his curly hair had been such a fiery red just days before had dulled to a drab orange. Anthony gazed out at the remaining men through a pair of glossy, tired eyes, set deep in the sunken sockets of his face. And a strange thought then crossed me ahead. The look of a man waiting for death to take him. How much farther, Anthony? That's the captain. The crew was restless, and I can't be having any more of this nonsense on the ship. We'll be reaching the grotto before next eve, Captain. Scott muttered out. And when he said that, the cat's eyes gleamed. In the briefest of moments, driven by the promise of riches, he was. So much so that he'd begun to let the treasure consume his every waking thought. The cap scratched his beard while he contemplated the first mate's answer. Good then. He finally responded. And how are you feeling? Strong enough to make the journey. But I need me rest. The captain turned to face the rest of us. Well, you heard him. But let him rest. Tomorrow we drop anchor, and there'll be no more disturbing him till then. Fever struck Jacob that night.
Oh, depressed.
Just after dark had begun to settle in, and by the time the sun was fully sunken below the edge of the sea, the young fisherman had been reduced to an unconscious, battling sweat soaked mess of the night.
We've entered the storm.
The crew was in an uproar. Their fears had more than doubled once word of Fort Jacob's condition traveled to the ship. I pitied him, knowing full well how terrible my own illness had been, and prayed to him for recovery. I believed in our fever. After all, the only 3 men who had fallen ill on the ship had each felt the merwoman's
You'll
teeth
pay for this.
pierce their flesh.
Lending your strength.
Mayhaps her bite was venomous. This is something I now know to be true, though. I would have no idea just how potent the poisonous mouth could be until it was the cat himself stood guard outside the door that night, so as to prevent the repeat of the show being against murder. This worked well enough to suppress any budding sunshine. The night passed along without a skirmish, and before I knew it, the sun had begun to reappear over the horizon. When it passed by,
Resistance is time.
still high. I found myself sharing laughs with a few of the men who were waiting to hear word from the captain. It wasn't until midday.
We've
Waited
entered
lay
the storm.
topside to speak to us. His eyes were red and swollen from the lack of sleep, and his arms hung loose and heavy, like pendulums from his shoulders. When he spoke, I could see the fatigue in his voice, but his eagerness to his hunger for wealth still apparent. Today is the day we make our fortune, men. Today, we become rich. Then, in a moment so tiring, I called down from the crow's nest above us. I see it! I see it! Land ho! By the time we drifted into the bay, the late afternoon sky
This battle is
was beginning to rest.
unavoidable. Lending your
It looked as if
strength.
the heavens were cast from copper. The island was so small a man could set out on foot at dawn, explore every nook and crevice of its terrain, and still return back to where he started before evening came by. The beach was littered with pipes. Birds, bright feathers, crispy, grazed. Beyond that was lush garden. Flowers. Anthony appeared topside with the girl shortly after the
Resistance is time.
He navigated the ship to a cove tucked away in a rock corner of the island. Here is where we were told we could expect to find the golden grotto. The mouth of the cave was too narrow for us to lower 2 railers into the water.
Yo.
Mine brought up the rear, while the boat with Captain Anthony and the Cicero led our modest procession. Most of the crew stayed on board of the ship, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I envied them.
You'll pay for this. Lending your strength.
The fire face instantly Jacob. The other men in my whaler must have felt the same way. Their faces were grim and cheerless. Less like a treasure hunter.
Alright, get us started.
On my command.
Our boats were rigged with harpoons. We were fishermen, not soldiers. And the Cap was the only one amongst us 3 vessels carrying a pistol. At a glance, the grotto was by no means remarkable. After hearing Anthony talk of it, I had been expecting marble statues, jewel-encrusted archways, but the mouth of the cave was small and ordinary, and our heads nearly touched the ceiling as we paddled inside. We used torches to light our way through the darkness. I thought my nose had grown numb to the scent of fish, but the smell inside the cave was so harsh and overpowering that it caused my eyes to water. Black rock formations rose out of the water's surface like tentacles of the kraken, and our voices bounced hollow off the walls. Aye, the grotto was a peculiar place indeed.
Lend your strength.
All the wrong reasons. The Scott had promised a wondrous vault with precious emeralds and rubies. But the deeper into the cave we traveled, the more I felt my dreams of riches slipped away. The walls were made of stone, not diamond. And even the slightest hint of gold was absent from the ceiling of the walls. As we sneaked our way down the waters narrow now, so deeply we journeyed into the treacherous cave that the mountain was no longer in sight. The flames from our torches were casting strange shadows on the walls. They danced and frolicked across the rocks with ghastly spirits. Even a dread began to swell inside me, rising to the tide. I feared I might never gaze upon the sky. Eventually, our party came upon a
We've entered the storm.
Its only gaze might worry us, even more reason to flurry. Now the promised treasure seemed further away than ever. I know that I was not alone in this thought, because after some time, it was the cat himself who turned to Anthony and began to question him.
Okay.
Where are the rubies and the pearls? Where are the pearls and emeralds?
Lending your strength.
Oh shit.
Answer me! Shouted Bill.
This is too long.
When he said this, he lowered the barrel of his pistol.
Lance ablaze!
Where's the gold? Where's the diamonds?
This battle is unavoidable. Lending your strength.
Trust to impress his
Resistance is timely. Let me tell your wound.
There be something in the water. Spun around and saw. I know you mad, but I recognize the creatures from my nightmares. I was now face to face with the very same wretched monks that had tormented me during my brief dreams.
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
Had somehow grown more potent, so much so that foul flavor.
I'm not afraid of you. I want to protect everyone too.
A scream rose up from behind me, sharp and gnawing. It pierced the moment like the tip of a dagger, and when I turned in its direction, I saw that it was coming from the cat. The fish girl had ambushed him from behind while his attention had been diverted. Her arms were wrapped tight around his shoulders, and those sharp teeth of hers had buried themselves into the side of his neck. He fired a desperate shot, but alas, the cap was too far gone. The bullet missed completely, and when he tried to pop his pistol again, his fingers betrayed him, and he dropped his weapon into the dark waters. The blood running down his throat looked black against the glow of the torchlight. Again and again, he tore away at his flesh, opening his wound larger with each bite. Anthony did nothing to stop her. The other men in the boat pulled at her arms and legs, but the girl's grip was strong, and they couldn't pry her loose. I glanced back towards the mermaid just in time to see the last of them die. Our boats were rocking back and forth, and I knew they intended to tip us over. Out of instinct, I snapped.
I'm on guard.
The water
Lance ablaze! Lance forward!
The girl continued to feast on the captain. It was screams.
I'm not afraid of you.
No longer did we have the strength to struggle. The throat was red and gnarled. It looked like water. My boat was the last to capsize, and by the time it hit the wall, the wicked things already swarmed themselves in sailors, just as piranhas do. Attacking from every angle and tearing
Lending your strength.
the creatures had been extinguished, but I could feel the dissipation all around me. But Blumen's garbled cries told me just how deadly those waters were.
We've entered the
The
storm.
slaughter didn't disturb me as much as Anthony's voice when I heard it, chanting out amidst the madness. Black and colorless, it sounded as if the first mate was under the influence of a spell. He recited those blasphemous prayers, the very same I had heard in my nightmares, as the creatures massacred our friends and brothers all around us. I shut my eyes and began to swim. The fish people were faster than I. This I knew, but I reasoned that fleeing was my only chance to survive. I couldn't see a thing in the darkness, so I used the screams of my fellow sailors to guide me. I swam from the carnage as fast as my arms and legs would allow me. So sure was I that I'd soon be meeting my death that I had already begun to make a peace with the thought of their teeth shredding my flesh. I could hear the blood-soaked cries of my crewmates even after I emerged from the cave. I gazed over the cove as my eyes adjusted to the twilight, and I saw the ship still anchored in the bay. The sight was indeed a relief, but I knew I was far from safe. As long as I was in those waters, I was nothing more than prey. I felt myself grow weary. My heart was pounding inside my chest like the stampeding hooves of 1,000 horses. My muscles were aching terribly, and my vision was growing blacker by the minute. Once or twice as I made my escape, I thought I caught the fishy steps of the cave. But every time I peered over my shoulder expecting to see those things chasing me down, I found that I was still alone. My mind was fading fast, and I feared if the fish people didn't kill me.
I'll continue this later.
Tropical waters.
Nope, not later. Do it now.
But just before darkness grabbed me, I felt myself plucked from the seas as if by an angel and pulled aboard a boat. When I opened my eyes, I saw the worried faces of my crewmates staring down at me. One of them attempted to ask me questions, but I'm afraid to say my memory completely leaves me at that. Next thing I recall, I was back in my hammock aboard the ship.
Will of
I had
preservation.
awoken from yet another deep sleep.
Show your courage.
So long I gasped that we were already more than halfway home. Many days had passed since that bloody afternoon. I was told by the crew that they had lowered a rescue boat into the water when they heard the crack of the captain's pistol. But the screams pouring from the grotto had deterred them from entering the cove. And so they waited until they spotted me making my escape. The men said that my eyes were wild when they pulled me from the drink, and that I yelled and blathered like a madman. But my warnings had frightened them enough to turn back and leave the rest for dead. I passed out by the time they brought me aboard the ship. Not long after, they raised the mainsail and decided to make a hasty departure. I spoke to Jacob while I recovered below the deck. His fever had left him, and he was eager to talk about the nightmares he suffered through. When I told him of the grotto, he said the scene I described unfolded just the way he experienced in his dreams. He saw that awful city as well, had witnessed those monks, and that wicked high priest performing the same depraved rituals that I did.
We've entered the storm.
That was all many years ago.
Defend.
I left the fishing business and moved as far inland as I could. Jacob, too, retired early. He traveled back home to live and care for his elderly mother. Even though we went our separate ways, the two of us made sure to keep correspondence.
I want to protect everyone too.
Shared a mutual bond. It was awful. It haunted us.
Nice teamwork.
And it may have to
This battle is unavoidable. Lengthen your strength.
He was the one person I
I need to be brave.
through our discussions, we tried to decipher. We researched the ancient runes that were carved inside the dark earth, and tried our best to translate the monk's language, though we made little progress in our endeavor. In his letters, Jacob often spoke of a book, researching
Lengthen your strength.
mad animals.
I'm not afraid of you.
My knowledge.
You don't look so good.
Not to worry.
You'll pay for that. We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them. I need to be brave. Lengthen your strength.
Lance ablaze.
This concern is most false.
Forward.
2 months later, I stopped communicating with him altogether. I wrote him many times, inquiring about his well-being, but never received a response. And so, after some time, I decided to pay him a visit. His village was out on the coast, was the first time in years that I had seen the ocean, and I was surprised to find myself undisturbed by the sight of it. Nay, in fact, I found comfort in its rolling through waves. His mother answered the door when I arrived.
Will of preservation.
I introduced myself as an old friend, but a look of grief struck her face when I uttered his name. And right away I knew my fears had been confirmed. She said that a terrible tragedy had occurred. It seemed as though Jacob's final letters had only revealed a small sliver of his tormented soul. His mother told me just how much he'd changed over the past year. He'd become detached, standoffish. She said he was full of anger, and that he often woke up screaming in the night. The man I knew was a devout Christian. Yet, he had announced the truth. And when she asked him to talk crazy, she would say, like ancient beings and sleeping dogs. His behavior, too, had begun to scare her, but she was old and feeble. Early one morning, while his mother choked him.
This battle is unavoidable. Lend me your strength.
Walked naked through the village, and blew himself from fear. He felt like a stone. Setting out for the day, he said he was ranting and speaking in tongues, and it seemed as though he was talking to the ocean itself.
Lend me your
His body was
strength.
recovered.
We venture to storm.
Memorial service.
To guard and defend. Crush them. I'm not afraid of you.
I'm on guard. Lance at the ready.
You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
I'm on guard.
I want to protect everyone too.
Okay, then. Yes,
These nightmares seem more frightening than the ones that came before. In them I scenes filled with monstrous creatures like the high priest from my fever dream, but now their history is told to me as I sleep. These deep ones have lived for millennia below the ocean's surface. It is they who rule the fish girl. They view these mer people as abominations, an early failed attempt to breed with the human race. But they tolerate their existence and let them worship in their sunken temples. They are used in religious rituals, sometimes given up as a sacrifice to Father Dagon, Mother Hydra. Other times they're utilized by the deep ones to manipulate man. I am sure now that there never was a golden grotto, nor was the girl really a queen of this. But the venom of her bite is powerful, and I think I can still feel it taking effect even today. The thought of land now repulses me. For a week I've been in this village on the coast, and have not been able to peel myself away. I want to go home, but the ocean won't allow it. It beckons me. I can hear its voice calling in the wind, gusting over the water, begging me to take the plunge just as Jacob did. He wants a sacrifice. And the more I dream, the harder it is for me to fight these urges. There's a realm of wonders that is unknown to man. Dark, cyclopean cities beneath the sea. Magnificent, inconceivable spectacles. The deep ones build churches there and worship all-powerful gods, sleeping gods that will return, and when they do, it will mean the end of the world. I used to think man ruled the sea, that the creatures dwelling in the depths were ours to hunt and kill, but the venom in my blood has pulled the veil from my eyes and revealed the harrowing truth. We are nothing in this world. The true kings will show themselves soon enough. I can hear the prayers of those monks now, even when I'm awake.
We venture to storm.
They haunt me and remind me of his fact. He sleeps, they tell me. He sleeps. But I know that he will not sleep forever, for the day will eventually come when he rises from his slumber.
Time to change. Lend me your strength.
Lance ablaze.
You know you've reached breaking breaking point when you come to a bunch of strangers asking for help. So I'm at my limit. I've had little sleep. It's been over 24 hours since the incident happened, and my husband and I still have no idea what to do or how this even started. I'm laying on the floor now, my eyes blood-clot and weird. I'm holding my little girl up as she leans against the hallway wall and continues to sob. She's been having fits of pain more frequently for the past few hours, and I still don't have a solution for her. All I know for sure is that I take any suggestions trying to get her to calm down. It isn't working. Nothing's done works so far. When I first heard her screams yesterday, I thought for sure it was a problem with her toy getting lost. Instead, I turned the corner from the laundry room, desperately trying to tug her arm from the plasterboard. At first, I thought somehow or another she ripped a hole, and I was about to scold her. As I got closer, I was shocked to find that instead, it seemed as though her entire hand hit up to the middle of her arm and somehow messed with the wall. It was impossible to determine where one end and the other began. Okay, sweetie, calm down. I told her as she started to have a crying fit and kept tugging. It hurts, she screamed. You could tell her efforts weren't making any difference. So I immediately distracted her with something else. It wasn't easy. She was fidgeting in. Even after an hour, I couldn't find a way to pry her arm from the wall, so I immediately called my husband at work.
Don't pay for this.
Should I call her that?
Lending your strength.
Lance at the ready. Judgment of eternal winter.
I'll come home right away. Get 911. Never heard him so alarmed. Maybe it's because I'm normally panicking.
Let me bestow upon you despair. I want to protect everyone too.
Without that, however, our company
I'm okay. Lending your strength. We've entered the storm. To guard and defend.
I tried to tell her it was going to be okay.
I'm not afraid of you. Assistance is timely. Lend me your strength. I need to be brave. I want to protect everyone too. The world devoured by iron.
My attention was focused on Marcy. The short reprieve that we had to calm her down was over as she screamed and said something was squeezing her arm. It got louder when she saw her daddy walking in the room. Sir, please back up.
Show your courage.
I'm her father. Please tell me you come up with something. It's causing this. He asked as he rushed and kissed me and then checked on Marcy. The other EMP talked in between her first tears. Well, honestly, I can't say for sure, but it seems like the best option right now would be to tear the wall down. Dan voted immediately and rubbed Marcy's arm, trying to soothe her pain. Yeah, of course. You got my permission. Tear it all down. EMP's radioed for a fire station nearby to bring a sledgehammer. Stan and I just kept holding our little girl tight, not daring to say a word as they returned with the equipment. Please step aside, one firefighter ordered us. I didn't want to be away from her as it happened, but I knew not to disobey. So I quietly stood up and watched as they prepared to smash the wall. As soon as they began to slam the hammer into the wall, we all surprised to hear Marcy scream even louder. I thought she might even go deaf to the noise. As they hit the hammer again, nothing seemed to damage the wall. Instead, it didn't seem to make Marcy scream, cry, and even twist her arm to the point of nearly breaking it to get away. Still, she remained lodged in place. I couldn't be quiet any longer. You're hurting her, I screamed, as I motioned to the EMPs to stop. Like the foundation is thicker than concrete. Is there no other way? team consulted amongst themselves for a few minutes as I wiped away Marcy's tears. They asked to talk to Stan privately. For a moment I heard them get upset, cringed, wondering what their suggestion even was. Then they returned to the hall and talked to me, while the EMTs did their best to distract the dog.
Lending your strength.
I want to protect everyone too.
They want to hang on. He said to Stoneface. I defeated fear that streaked down his face when he had been arguing with him. I knew that if he was coming to me now, it meant that he didn't see any other option. They can't. No, she's horrible, I said, as I covered my mouth, eyes not. Listen, he said as he grabbed my shoulder. They said that we could think it over, and so they would consider other options, but it's not looking good. I don't know the way it's logical. I shook my head, trying to think about it. I knew that he was also struggling with this choice as well. So we told them. We told them that we had called him back in a few hours.
I only did one.
I sat down on the floor beside her as she complained about his feet and told her that she could rest on me as I rubbed her arm. I hurt so much. She complained with her whimper. She was all worn out. I don't know how, but she got me Then, morning, I decided I couldn't bear to hear her in pain any longer, so I asked Stan to call the EMTs back.
You'll pay for this.
How will they do this?
Lending your strength.
She got off the phone. They didn't say
To guard and defend.
none of the details. She said.
Lance the blaze.
Then we got on the floor next to Marcy and we tried to explain to her what was about to happen. Sweetie, you remember the men and women who came yesterday to look for Garena? She nodded deeply. You could tell she was barely gotten any sleep herself. They came back
Lending your strength.
and to try to get you
I
out.
want to protect everyone too.
Sweetie, what they're going to do, it's going to hurt. Did you raise so long as Daddy, though? Well, she whimpered, unsure of how to respond. We held her close. Stan even said a prayer and wanted to get her right.
Nice teamwork.
Marcy was desperate for us to not leave her side as I watched the EMTs get out with syringes and anesthetics and numb the area closest to the wall. We get everything set up, tie her arm off, right above the elbow during a blood flow. Then once the medicine's in her system, we'll try to think it clean time. I can't even describe the way that Marcy screamed as they stuck her with about 5 different needles. Then it was time to operate. The two EMTs moved to either side of her arm with a bone saw and asked me and Stan to hold her still as they prepared to make the cut. I immediately fell to my knees and squeezed her other hand. Marcy, look at me, baby, look at me. I want you to think about your favorite ice cream, okay? I said as I activated the blade as she whimpered and her lower lip quivered.
Lending your strength.
Just don't let them hurt me, she begged. I touched her cheek and cried alongside her as the blade hit the edge of her arm and I heard the loudest noise imaginable from the floor. But Marcy's eye pushed the door
Prevented the storm.
She immediately stopped and Stan rushed over, all of us surprised to find out that somehow Stan managed to break her own saw.
You're a psycho.
What in the world?
Study that.
Stan said.
B.
They had to try again.
B.
They tried 3 times, each time only causing more damage to the saw than any progress on Marcy's arm. And finally they admitted they couldn't try any longer. They left muttering apologies and promising they would call back as soon as another solution presented itself. That was over 6 hours ago. We haven't had a call back. Stan has taken off work, but he's no closer to a solution. We tried to bust down the wall from outside the house, but no such luck from that either. I'm at the edge of my rope. I've done my best to keep Marcy well fed and dry, but I don't know how much longer this will go on. I'm asking anyone. Please. Help us. Help my little girl. Help. changed about 4 hours after I posted. Stan ran out to buy a soft beanbag chair for Marcy to be able to rest in. I bit my nails and waited by the phone for another call for the EMT. Their suggestions weren't bad, but each one of them sounded more gruesome and torturous than the one prior to it. Acid, maybe some sort of explosive, they said. They made me physically shake to imagine doing that to my little girl. I was tired, exhausted, but I still had some sanity left to know that I didn't want to make my little girl be in any more pain, especially now that her screams had mostly turned into whimpers as she rested and cried pitifully in her sleep. I stepped away from her for a minute or two, just to regain some sense of composure, and checked all the suggestions that folks posted here. I mean, some of it was quite appalling, suggesting that we kill her to save her the pain, but others suggested that we should attempt a cut from further away up her arm. Someone said it so well. A whole arm amputation beat her current predicament. I showed my husband the suggestions, and he agreed with the logic, so I went back to Marcy to make her comfortable as we made the call. That was when I noticed that it was no longer just the lower part of her arm that was stuck. Now the wall was connected directly at the arm, right beneath her shoulder. She was being pulled further in. I covered my mouth to stifle a scream, and I rushed to get Stan. And when he came and he saw what happened, he made a few quick decisions. Don't wake her. She's not in pain right now. And maybe that's a good thing. We can get this over with before it sucks her even further inside, he suggested. And I nodded, trying not to panic as I paced the kitchen. But the hospital wasn't responding. The one nurse we did finally get a hold of thought that we were pulling some kind of prank and hung up.
Wait,
He's supposed to
I want to listen to this. I don't give a shit.
as we consulted in the living room. I'm not sure. I think right now we both need some sleep. As cool as it sounds, there's nothing we can do for her at the moment. And maybe, with some good rest, we can clear our heads and get some better ideas. He suggested. I don't want to leave her alone, I admitted, as I started down the hall where our little girl was resting on the beanbag. She looked like a little rag doll, limp, hanging by some invisible thread on the side of her body. We can take shifts. You need rest, Stan insisted, and then went to lay down. Fury, if distressed, becoming visible as it left her possession. The hole the size of a basketball was burnt into her chest. There wasn't any chance of snappy action movie quips or anything of the sort as she lay there turning pale and cold. I was slightly disappointed. But then I snatched her wand off the floor and held it up triumphantly. It was all worthwhile. My parents were blinking and looking around with stunned expressions on their faces when Xavier appeared from his invisible state and began whooping like a barn owl. Ooh! You messed that Limo girl up good, you did, my boy. Your first real victory. My parents gasped and my dad fainted suddenly at the sight of a dead body of a teenage girl in my room. I guess they had been hypnotized somehow by Sam. Couldn't blame them for the terrible things that they'd said to me, even if they were true. Before I could tell them anything, my mom started to scream at us both. This is what you've been doing after school? Hey there kids, it's me, Mr. Creepypasta, and I just wanted to tell you thank you for watching tonight's video, or listening to tonight's episode of the podcast. And as always, I want to give a very big thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon. If you scroll down to the description at the very bottom, you'll find a whole bunch of people there. Also, we've included this nice little scrolling thing because the number of people who support me on Patreon has gotten so big that I'm afraid it might actually max out the description. So we've included this here as the little scrolling text on the end screens. So everybody on that scrolling text, everybody I'm about to mention right now and mispronounce all of your names, and everybody who could donate even $1, thank you so much. A very big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Stephanie Butler, Reaper 61167, Bobby Carmen, Tristan Pelton, Chance Burnett, Dinah Kraus, Vicky McQuickie, Sam High, Crusader Chocobo, Spooky Shell, Adam Morris, Grand Moth the Milky, Big Smoke 369, Captain Scurvy, Salty Irish Poet, Esteban, Raiden Morris.
So
Hey there kids, it's me, Mr. Creepypasta, and before we get started on tonight's story, I'm going to take a quick second to let you know about Chilling. The Chilling app is an app available on Android and iPhone, and it allows you to listen to all kinds of stories of horror, woe, murder, and all those fun things we usually tell stories about here. The major difference is, one, it's its own standing app, which means that you're able to...
We ventured the storm.
still listen to stories with headphones. Two, has this really cool ambient sound feature. Background music for background
Lance
sound.
ablaze! Lance forward!
It identifies itself as more
I want to protect everyone too!
Giveaway. Head over to
Nice teamwork.
Wish them lucky work.
and a silly charging station. All you gotta do, download the app, take a free trial, head over to chillingapp.com/PS5, and you win. Get a PS5. I'm one of the narrators on the app. I have a new story coming out every week. Probably more frequently than that. A bunch of my friends are too, including Autumn Ivy and a few others. I really encourage you guys to go check it out. Go see it. And now, on to tonight's story. Well, this hideout is complete. Xavier muttered, his white beard whipping around his face in cold air. Too bad. That's real Game of Thrones vibes. We were standing on the
Good.
former apprentice.
There's always lengthening your
A
strength.
giant hole in the stone wall of the main level let in the howling wind and blowing snow, which had begun to fill the foyer with the medieval-style castle all around us. The old sorcerer was giving me a strange look, staring at me with his brows raised. So, one, good. Pleased with yourself, to be honest. I'm sure you're up to the challenge. I hesitated, then pulled the same old wand from the pocket of my brown robe that he'd seen before. The
Nope.
one which had belonged to his mother. There was no good way of telling the sorcerers and stole the wand from me at the last possible moment. After I had started celebrating my victory over Clint. So I just said it. Ruka stole it. Right after I killed Clint.
Your voice
She
is
snuck
good.
in through a portal.
Show your courage.
Will of preservation.
What? How? She's taking this is a Highlanders kind of situation. Picking out a sorcerer's wand and I'm killing them themselves. How it's always been.
We've entered the storm.
Found a way.
To guard and defend.
What's going to stop her from doing the same thing again next time? Xavier began to pace the snow-flooded room, kicking white powder into the air with his
Lengthening your
childish
strength.
outbursts of anger.
Lance
He was muttering and
ablaze!
cursing under his breath.
Don't attack.
Then he stopped dead in his tracks. Turned to me, zeroing in on the wand which I still held in my hand. I snatched it from my hand, began to examine it more closely, whispering incantations. She raised her hand over the surface of it, inspecting it from an inch away. Aha! Just as I suspected. What is it? He twiddled his fingers, and I saw the polished wood begin to change. The colors of it shifting before my eyes. Runes had been scratched into it. Dark with black magic.
Show your courage.
Dark wizards fooled me again. Used some sort of ancient spell that whoever you kill with it, count as hers. She distracts you. She can see everything you're doing.
We've entered the storm.
Right now.
To guard and defend.
Wall, clattering all the
I want to protect everyone too!
Hey, that's my
Time to
wand.
change tactics. Lengthening your
Running over and
strength.
stepping it up. Flash that.
Lengthening your strength.
No, it's not hers.
Lance ablaze!
Continue to use it and make her more powerful.
Forward!
Let me know your warning.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Lengthening your strength.
Can't possibly be any clearer.
You're a bastard.
I want to protect everyone too!
Square one. Setting the wand down inside a black box and shutting the lid.
Lengthening your strength.
Light shelf.
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
Go back to the workshop now.
Lower than I had in quite a long time.
It's time.
Keep her from spying on us.
Lance ablaze!
This one is
Lance
obviously not much food.
forward!
mention it. By evil, you mean your daughter. Of course. Who else would I be talking about? I'm starting to think that she's the one. One more than God wins she's been following. I'm surprised herself. Stinks of her deceit. The Dark One himself isn't as clever. That or Nick. Right. They'd been 3 steps ahead of us right from the start. So, what's the plan, Xavier? I need a wand. Should we go after the next apprentice? What about that chaotic neutral guy you're always talking about? The old wizard sat down heavily on his workbench.
Imperial boy.
He's too powerful. He's really learned to embrace the chaos, turning into a force to be reckoned with. I know Bruca. Challenging. Until she's at full strength. The coffee machine clicked, indicating it was ready, and I went over to it immediately and got a mug ready for Xavier.
Right.
I carefully poured the cream first into the cup, then coffee, then sugar. Using his favorite stirring spoon, I swirled the concoction together. I was really starting to figure this apprentice stuff out, I thought to myself, handing him the cup. Not him. Then we have 2 options left. Who are the other 2 apprentices, and which one should I challenge next? Let's see. Sam. And there's Jed. With a sip of his steaming coffee, he spit it out, spraying the hot liquid everywhere. Then began scraping his tongue with his fingernail, trying to get the remains of it out of his mouth. Water! Xavier croaked. Oh no, I thought to myself, he's been poisoned. Bruca must have snuck into his workshop while he was at Clint's castle. She never rested for a moment. I ran over to get him a glass of water from the sink and brought it back. The old sorcerer guzzled down half the cup, gargling and then spitting it out on the floor. This coffee tastes like hot garbage. What do you do? Same as always. I turned the machine on, I poured it in the water, hit the brew button. Problem? Oh no. Don't tell me. Have you been reusing the same coffee grounds every time? No wonder it always tastes worse than the time before. He poured the murky puddle water into the concrete floor, saying, I don't like to do this. I have no choice. You've disappointed me for the last time. The sorcerer looked menacing and tall suddenly, towering over me. His hair and beard whipped around his face in an unseen wind. Lightning and thunder cracked in the distance, despite the clear sky outside. I saw a burning fire in his eyes like I'd never seen before. You have to get a drive-through. Come on, kid. I pointed a staff to the driveway and a car appeared. Like a Ford. Let me guess. From the car dimension? Xavier laughed loudly. Don't be ridiculous. Always buy domestic. You kids wonder why there's no good manufacturing jobs in this country anymore. 10 minutes later, the 2 of us were sitting in the parking lot of a nearby coffee shop sipping our drinks. I had opted for a latte, but Xavier was sticking with his habitual double-double. Choose your next victim. I apprentice to challenge. There's Sam, skilled practitioner of the use of emotional magic? What the hell? Okay, this is an easy one. I'll take Sam first. I don't even need to hear about it. Xavier looked surprised. Oh, okay, that's settled. You seem to have this all figured out.
There's always
He took another sip of his coffee and lost down the bite of honey color and slowly activated his mouth. You know the worst part of getting old? There's a lot of them. Lack of saliva is really frustrating. He dumped some more coffee into his maw, like a baker with a dough that's a little too dry, adding some more liquid. He continued chewing. Okay, Sam it is. Should take a week to prepare at the very least, Xavier said, his mouth still working. A week? I can't wait that long. Bruca's out there right now, killing more apprentices, taking their wand. If we wait, they'll all be dead by the time we get there. Xavier thought about this, playing with his beard and fiddling with his mustache. No point. We have to go now. Both of us. If I have you with me, then Sam should be no problem, right? He mumbled something disagreeably, then eventually nodded. All right, we'll go. You have to keep in mind, Sam is a master of emotional manipulation, with access to all the accompanying powers from that quadrant of the multiverse.
Yeah,
You have to be rock solid mentally before entering that battle. With any weaknesses, they're on Sam to expose them. I thought about this for a little while. Whatever emotions I had were easy enough to keep in check. After battling the ice wizard Clint and the rat whisperer Derek, I thought an emotional magic user could be a piece of cake. After all, what was the worst they could do? Make me cry? Let's go, I'm ready.
Where is it?
Time to get myself a wand, a real one this time. All right, Xavier replied. Let's finish this first. He took a tentative sip of his coffee, then tried to guzzle it, and stopped. Oh, too hot. He held his finger up to the side of the cup and blinked at it, concentrated effort.
He felt a bit of magical energy flowing through the shaft, lingering in the air around us.
We've entered the
We're
storm.
settling a bit cooler in the car, like a hot day outside. Xavier took another sip of coffee, this time much longer.
What a cat portal thing.
Satisfied. Much better. Perfect. Powers multiverse experiment.
Time to change, lending your strength.
Okay, step to the portal, boy. Same as the first time against Derek, I'll be with you the whole way. Try not to interfere as much this time, though. Just remember, stay strong. You have the infinite wisdom and strength of multiverse on your side. And not
Since this time,
Drake Pudding.
Lance at the ready.
Stepping out on the other side, I found myself in a field of roses. The flowers were in full bloom.
Lance the blade. Lance.
I moved the picture and bumped with thorn bushes. Not far in the distance, I saw
Don't
a small
take it
house.
as lending your strength.
Painted in pale gold, path leading towards it from the center of the field of roses. Let's get to the path and reach the gate of the property. Xavier plunged out of the portal next, landing in a tumble of thorns and snapping several delicate rose stems in the process. Ow!
This battle is unable
Setting up,
lending your
pulling
strength.
stems, branches, and
We've entered the storm.
thorns embedded.
Guard and defend. Crush them.
I noticed there were odd-looking black streaks beginning to thickly spread from the
I'm on
wounds.
guard.
Skin appeared,
I want to protect
vein-like
everyone.
growing rapidly longer, moving in the direction of his heart. He looked down at his hand, growing concerned. That's not good at all. The last words from the old sorcerer's mouth were collapsed. He looked at his
Lending your
sleeve,
strength.
making loud snoring sounds, his lips flapping together like a horse. Each exhale. Black, poisonous-looking veins spreading all over his skin, burning outwards from thorns and stabs. They spread across his face as magma slowly
Lance at the
the
ready.
old man's heart. With that,
Lance the blade.
the old
Lance.
man exhaled the breath of air. And it is
Stay focused. On my command. Time to finish. Okay.
Let me know your wounds.
Hey there, kids, it's me, Mr. Game Papa, and I just want to tell you thank you for watching tonight's video or listening to tonight's episode of the podcast. And as always, I want to give a very big thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon. If you scroll down to the description at the very bottom, you'll find a whole bunch of people there. Also,
Lending
we include
your
this nice little
strength.
scrolling thing because the number of people who support me on Patreon has gotten
We've
so
entered the
big
storm.
that I'm afraid
To guard and defend.
The description.
Ba, ba, ba,
I
ba.
want to protect everyone
has
too.
little scrolling text down
The
in the
channel
screen.
is a little
So
more
everybody on that scroll, everybody I'm about to mention right now, and this is not all your names, and everybody who could donate even $1, thank you so much. A very big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Reaper 61167, Randy Carmen, Shipping Company, Camper, Titus House, Yamaha, Crusader Chocobo, Spooky Shell, Adam Morris, Grand Moth Milky, Big Smoke 369, Captain Scurvy, Salty Irish Poet, Esteban, Raiden Morris, Nick Cole, Horror Fan 1212, Hour Minute Second Time, Kyle Resnick, David Martin, Scale Robert Gotham, thank you.
Show your courage.
Will of preservation.
Xavier the Cheyenne, Dennis, Sean Catabaker, 6K Watson Trenchcoat, Turtleman, Rob Lake Sharpton, Smilenia, Xavier Graphius, Lord Life's Best, Goring Tremagacy, Maria Walker, Emily Mitchell, Crazy Kid, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Nick
Where's
Limshaw,
it?
Jerk Diver 030, Matt Bach.
Shadow. Multiverse.
Bruca and Derek were the first things I saw when I regained consciousness. I looked around to see that we were in a dark, cavernous place, which I guessed was far underground. There's no light source.
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush
They
them.
slapped me awake. Hard, spear-handed hits to the face.
I want to protect everyone too.
That's not That is something I'm concerned myself with right now. Who you are meeting at this moment. This opportunity is not to be taken lightly. You'll change your life forever. Just 100 hours. Then a set of eyes appeared blinking in the corner. They reflected light where there was none. Two eyes glared at me from the blackness.
Lend me your strength.
I want to protect everyone too.
I need need to be brave.
We've entered the storm.
To guard and defend.
A decision. As a man walking down a road.
Lend me your strength. I need to be brave. Time for
Man sees the path leading to the left. Goes the opposite.
I want to protect everyone
Winds to
too.
dark forests and treacherous mountain passes.
Lance at the ready.
Or the man sees.
You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
He finds that road is much more appealing to his eye. There the road is better straight towards the destination. You can be glimpsed in the distance. Any other short path road.
I want to protect everyone too.
Sunlight.
Lance ablaze. Lance forward.
How could you or anyone else justify your choice? But hard.
I'm on guard.
I stared at the reflection from his
Lend me
eyes.
your strength.
Tried to
We've entered the
comprehend his
storm.
logic.
To guard and defend.
What are you trying to say?
Crush them.
Just speak it plainly. I don't appreciate your metaphors. Are you trying to tell me that it would be
This
easier to
battle
go
is
along with you?
unavoidable.
That it would be better somehow to try and bring about oblivion? He shook his head.
Lance at the ready.
Oh, he keeps doing that.
It's the right path. It's the true path.
Yeah,
Lend
it's
me
kind
your
of annoying.
strength.
These are not a side. Let us pursue.
I want to protect everyone too.
As you have traveled before you, and you find it
Lance
takes you
ablaze.
exactly to your destination. You walk further and you find
There's always a
that path
weakness.
is but a loop.
Lend me your
Circle
strength.
which leads you back yet again to the same choice over and over as if
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
destiny out for us rest.
Let me tend your wounds.
Someone who is very
Lend me your strength.
patient.
I'm not afraid of you.
The multiverse is
I'm on guard.
I've seen it, truly glowing heart. The beginning and the end are one. I've seen things your master do. Just as
You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
I want to protect everyone
begin
too.
again at the beginning. Make things
Sorry now.
better each time.
Oh my god, that's so annoying.
Let me tend your wounds.
No more injustice.
Time for
So your
this
plan
battle
is
is
just to blow it all up and
Lend me
start
your
over?
strength.
I need to be brave.
We've entered the
Is
storm.
that why you're turning all these
To
worlds
guard
into
and defend.
abysses?
Crush them.
Exactly. See, I knew you would understand. It's for the greater good. In the very pure ears of the end. I'll make sure of that. Because you'll be in charge. Oh, yes. You will see that. Who
Lance
else?
ablaze.
Who else could do it? To make everything better.
Lance
That was the goal
ablaze.
of the multiverse. Peace and prosperity for everyone. No more suffering. Just out of curiosity, how would you make that happen? No suffering and only perfect peace for everyone?
Target threat index.
You can't be everywhere at once. And even if you could, how would you stop everyone from making people around them suffer? from
Yeah,
making
because
them hurt?
Grizzly, so annoying.
I'm
Keep
doing
delaying
it.
my attacks. Like,
But-
fuck that.
What about free
That's
will?
bullshit.
What if people make bad decisions? Someone suffers from it. Or loses their inner peace because of it? I couldn't help it. The questions were pouring out of me. I couldn't stop it. It was like a floodgate of curiosity had opened up in my mind at the mention of such things as he was planning. No more suffering. Peace and prosperity for everyone. You'll see. You will love it, just like the rest of them. He will make sure that you love it. Because I won't have a choice in the matter, right? But you do. You do have a choice right now. Decide. I tried to think of a way to stall, but it was impossible. They all glared at me in the darkness, and they waited for me to say that I would join them. I was terrified, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't. No, I won't join you. I refuse to believe that this is better. Darkness, the abyss, this is death. I want to fight for life, for freedom. Find another path.
There's always a weakness.
I wasn't sure where I heard that last line, but... The dark eyes around the room glared at me and squinted in disbelief.
Lance the blaze!
You will die, rest of the dark shadow man said. And then he pushed me, behind me without me realizing it, a portal had opened in the ground. I dropped backwards into it, and then I was falling down for a long time. And when I opened my eyes, I was in a grassy field. And I thought maybe, maybe, I was home. But it wouldn't be that easy. So I stood up and looked around to see that it was early evening in this place, and the sun going down orange on the horizon. Certainly wasn't Earth. All around me were perfectly round craters that pockmarked the grassy meadow all around me. The cold wind was blowing in from the direction of some mountains in the distance, and I noticed a small village at the base of the mountain, smoke rising up from the chimneys there. The idyllic-looking village appeared to be one of a medieval age, I thought to myself. Walking carefully towards it through the grass, I was in hope for contacting the villagers.
We've entered the storm.
Maybe the village would have the answers. Mostly, though, I just didn't want to be alone in a strange world when the sun went down. I hoped I could make it to that place before nightfall. As I walked through the grassy field, I saw more of the craters were opening up in a minute. The ground was crumbling all around me. I suddenly noticed with growing apprehension the entire field was unstable. I hurried along even faster, picking up my pace as I ran, desperately trying my way through the pockmarked field full of treasures. A few times I had to stop on a dime before it running straight into the waist-type grass. Just as I was getting over the edge of the strange crumbling field, I turned around midway beneath my feet. And I leapt into the air, reaching for the solid ground on the other side of the chasm, just formed where I'd been standing. Clearly, I managed to grab onto the tall grass on the other side of the pit, my legs dangling over the hole in the earth that had just opened up. Below was nothing but blackness. I noticed where I made the mistake of looking. The grass was being pulled from its roots. I saw with horror as I kicked my legs and tried with all of my effort to climb up to the solid ground, but it was no good. The grass pulled free from the dirt, and I went backwards into the blackness, screaming as I fell, and then something grabbed me. Someone grabbed my hand and pulled me up, panting. Lying face down, I looked up and seemed to rescue me.
Let me tend your wound.
A girl about my age who now looked out of breath and exhausted. She had black hair, dressed in black, simple clothing. Thank you. I managed to say, you saved my life.
This battle is unavoidable. Lend me your strength.
How are you only yours?
Lance the blaze!
Let's go back to the village. I'll introduce you to my family. You can see your new home. Behind the glass. Whatever behind the glass meant, I wasn't liking the sound of it. Thanks. I really appreciate you saving me and all, but I need to get home. Back to my family. You understand that, right? Her eyes darkened and she stood up to me, looking down at me. I noticed she was holding something in her hand that looked like a dog collar.
I'm on guard.
How I respect this. And the collar suddenly flew from her hand and snapped around my neck, fastening itself tightly there. Necktie. Too much. There, she said, nodding to herself. Come with me. You understand that, right? Hey there, kids, it's me, Mr. Game Pasta. I want to tell you thanks so much for watching today's video on YouTube or listening to today's episode of the podcast on the podcast. For those of you guys who are listening to me here, maybe you like listening to me do behind the scenes shit. You can always do that at twitch.tv/MrGamePasta. I Twitch stream sometimes, and when I Twitch stream, it's usually either playing very random video games or doing work like you're currently hearing me do right now. I always love seeing you guys. I always love hearing from you guys. So if you wanted to pop in and listen to me work or pop in and backseat game, then you're always welcome to do so. I always appreciate a follow there. And of course, like always, I want to give a very big thank you to everybody who supports me at patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. You guys, as always, are the main MVPs of this story, of every night's story, and you guys help me keep the lights on here. So, without further ado, I want to give a very big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Stephanie Butler, Bobby Carmen, Tanya Oren, Tristan Pelton, Chance Burnett, Dana Krause, One Guy, Lupita Galvin, Tyler Fletcher, Rebecca Harper, Murky Moo, Red Shadow Cat, Xavier the Cheyenne, Demix, Sean,
High threat target ahead.
Rats in a trench coat, Turtleman,
God, Billy.
Show your courage.
Graphius, Gorangsa Magazine, Maria Walker, Paingrain, Crazy Chick, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Baker Limchop, Dirt Diver, Bob, Dabbles Rad, Sam, Coffee Zombie, Mackie McNee, Shelly J, Jeremy H, Altazon, Psychomel, Nana, Melted Lake, Holly C, Daimara Ravenswood, William Kim, Darth Miser.
I want to protect everyone too.
M98, Harley, Sashi Sasaki, my body sounds like Rick, Keely Amber,
Nice teamwork.
Lisa Cottrell, Casper,
Lance the Blaze.
Rozak and Pancake and Carly Green, Texas Lampshade, Raphael Redden, Gingerbread, Storm Crow, Linda Paulson, and as always, thank you guys so very, very much. Thank all of you who are in the description down below, and honestly, thank all of you that can give anything, even when it comes down to just $1. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Sweet dreams. Xavier and I stumbled back into his workshop, covered in dirt and dust, with nothing but bruises to show for our efforts. Our first mission to restore balance to the multiverse had not gone at all as his former apprentice had kicked both of our asses. Little punk learned a few new spells on giving that. The old sorcerer said as he sat down heavily on a stool beside his cluttered workbench. I collapsed on an old couch in the corner, and my back aching from the fight. Chachi said that he was the dumb one, the one who would be easiest to beat. This wasn't easy at all. We almost died back there. Thinking back, all I could picture was a horde of rats Derek had summoned at will. His spies, he called them. Did we really communicate with them too? How the hell was he talking to those rats anyway? It's like they were his own personal army. Xavier looked at them and shook his head. Still don't understand. There are infinite worlds out there, connected by the all-world tree. Infinite! Is there one with telepathically controllable rats, just waiting for a child master to command them? There was. Not anymore.
This battle is
Just
unavoidable.
emptied it out.
Lend me your strength.
What do you mean, emptying it out?
You don't look so good.
The old man looked at me quizzically, as if wondering if he had explained this before.
I'm on guard. Lance the Blaze.
I was becoming all too familiar. Look, I get that you've had a lot of apprentices before me, Xavier. I get that.
Lend me your strength.
And 8 years old,
I'm
but
afraid of you.
let's just pretend for a minute. I know nothing, okay? If you told me this before, stop you. So I didn't
I hope
tell you about maintaining balance amongst the worlds? Maybe a little, but let's pretend you didn't. Okay, he said, looking his age suddenly more than ever before.
I want to protect everyone.
He caught his breath before starting to tell I was please don't collapse the multiverse speeches.
You'll
Take
pay
too
for
much
this.
from
Lend me
another
your
world.
strength.
You great void there. You go to school, right? Sure. When I'm not forced to skip class or in your morning coffee. Exactly. So you may be learning your science class. The universe is made up partly of dark matter and dark energy. Nobody has really seen these things to understand them. Not. Okay, so think about it like a vacuum. If you make a vacuum, say like in Iraq or Afghanistan, take out the existing government power structure. All the other dark shit comes in and takes its place. Wait, I thought we were talking about like a same basic concept.
To guard and defend.
So is that what causes these abyss dimensions?
I want to protect everyone too.
More of them, by the way. Picturing the world full of floating cats with no kibble. Always return and channel energy back to the original dimension that it came from to avoid these types of imbalance. I don't know. Ruka and my other 5 former apprentices are being so kind to the multiverse. It is beginning to cause more and more damage by the day. Soon we may not be able to repair it all. I was beginning to understand why this was so important. We needed to stop the damage before it became irreparable. There were whole worlds dying by the minute. I learned how to do my job stopping these 6 evil kids. You ever tried talking to them? I asked.
Show your courage.
To see if they'll stop. Many, many times. They were my apprentices, after all. I took the same care and diligent training as I am with you. They're well aware of what they're doing. Okay, so... Well, let's give it another shot. Can we locate Derek again and try to defeat him? The old sorcerer didn't look up. He just shuffled papers on his workbench and harumphed. Hey, Xavier! Come on, I'm sorry. I didn't get him on the first try. I'll beat him next time. It was hard with you standing over my shoulder, watching me like that. I got distracted. Maybe if I had my own wand and a bit of freedom, I could actually do a bit of a better job next time. That did it. He stood up, his face red. If not for me, you'd be dead right now, boy. Remember that huge pillar of rock and earth that he summoned up and threw at your head? You think about that at all? I saved your life back there. I guess you're right. I hung my head in shame and apologized. It's half my fault.
Will of preservation.
I trained for years before my first... I gave you, what, a couple of months? More like weeks. His face softened slightly.
We've entered the storm.
Something important was dawning on
Guard
me.
and defend. Crush them.
My
I
master
want to
taught me.
protect everyone too.
He's in a very interesting way.
Time to change tactics. Lend me your strength.
Lance the blaze. Lance forward.
You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
I need to be free. I want to protect everyone too.
Power amplification.
Need a doctor?
Executing operation. See that clever. See that clever.
Lance will never forget you.
Application authorized.
I might be.
I'll forget her at some point. Her parents are already pissed about my midterm grades. This is something no magic can correct. They simply
Lend me your strength. We've entered the storm.
I'm working with you for minimum wage.
To guard and defend.
If I'm not either asleep or at school.
Oh yes. Sleep.
Lance the blade.
So long I nearly forgot about it.
Lance forward. I want to protect everyone too.
Let me hit your wound.
Ah, very nice. I see what you did there. Okay, let's go back. Use a big mag myself. Besides,
Will of
bug
preservation.
spray is starting to wear off.
Show your courage.
You had bug spray this whole time? After spending the whole day in the jungle,
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
I want to protect everyone too.
Time to change tech. Lend me your strength.
research and magic users and movies and on television always seem so wise and
Lance the blade. Lance forward.
You the doctor? Time for your prescription. I'll never forget you. This battle is unavoidable. Lend me your strength.
Eat me up.
Hide.
Jump through a portal with a rat.
Sneak back clever.
I want to protect
That's
everyone
much better than this fucking grizzly bullshit. Pushing around doesn't affect.
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them. You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
You're scary.
Annihilate.
So, does he have you getting out for coffee? Getting his precious double
Let me hit your wound.
Actually,
Lend me your strength.
cut out the donut.
I need to be free.
Hide.
Time for your prescription.
Nice teamwork. Lance the blaze. Lance forward.
You the doctor?
Yeah.
Not a threat.
The good side, by any chance?
I'm not afraid of you. I'm on guard.
He said. And I got momentarily excited that I got food or something.
I want to protect everyone too.
Oh, Derek! Suddenly,
Lend me your strength.
thousands small,
We've entered the
furry
storm.
roach bodies coming from everywhere, all at
To
once.
guard and
They
defend.
emerged
Crush them.
from beneath cars, houses, and surrounding. Then suddenly the rodents were beneath me, carrying me away. I tried to blast through them with lightning bolts, but my own success sent them up to the bodies.
Let me hit your wound.
Despite the day's beginning, I was overcome with
Panic and unable to focus. Derek is suddenly there beside Baruka with his wand in his hand.
making sound of something.
This battle is unavoidable. Lend me your strength.
Annihilate.
I want to protect everyone too.
I screamed as wiry black tentacles appeared from nowhere, seeming to go up from the ground like evil plants. They moved like parasitic worms, like they were made of steam, around my entire body, swirling around my arms and legs, my midsection and mouth, and I was dragged off with this swirling purple form.
I'll never forget you. Lend me your strength.
Lance the blaze. Lance
Oh yeah.
forward.
Or just today's episode of the podcast tonight. I want to let you know about the couple of authors that really love the work
I want to
of,
protect
and
everyone too.
in my live streams, you guys will tell me some of your favorite stories.
It's just bad.
Like a lot of people novels, they continue on to the stories on YouTube. And in some cases, I even did audiobooks for them that you can find on Audible. 3 of which I want to let you know about right now. The Neverglades, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 are available right now on Amazon, both on Kindle and on paperback. And My Tiny Town Just Got Put on Lockdown is available on Amazon as one major novel that contains both Season 1 and Season 2, which is not done on the channel yet, as well as a brand new one called The Study, an Effluvium Hayes novel, which continues the story of My Tiny Town Just Got Put on Lockdown. And of course, I think one of everybody's favorite series is on here, Tales from the Gas Station, currently has a 4th volume that has just come out. I did the audio books for Volume 1 through 3. 4 will come out eventually. So, without further ado, I want to give a very big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Stephanie Butler, Bobby Carmen, Tanya Oren, Tristan Pelton, Chance Burnett, Dana Kraus, that one guy, Lupita Calvin, a creepy chick, Tyler Fletcher, Rebecca Harper, Rookie Moo, Red Shadowcat, Xavier the Cheyenne, Demex, Sean Cadu Baker, 6 Gay Rats and a Trench Coat, Turtle Man, Red Light Shark, Chaos, Mr. Marcus